Today we're making a recipe from the Forks Over Knives cookbook, Southwest Twice-Baked Potatoes.
So this recipe serves 6, but there's only 2 of us. So we're basically going to use 2 large potatoes as our serving vessels, and then we're just gonna half all of the other ingredients because
we'll cut it in a third.
we're gonna cut it in a third?
Oh yeah, because we can do that.
Okay.
It's math, but it's okay. We will figure it out.
There's one thing and you're gonna third it.
We'll figure it out.
All right.
It's what we do.
So the easy part is you start with 2 large russet potatoes.
You have to wash them.
You have to wash them.
Leave the skins on though, because the skin, you know, you have to eat the skin. It's so good for you.
I have a little...
If anyone gets that reference, let me know.
I have a little vegetable brush, so I just scrubby. So they may look like they're dirty. They're not. They got scrubbed thoroughly.
So, I have a fork and I have potatoes. What do I have to do with these?
You're going to pierce each potato with a fork a few times so that it will release steam during baking.
Okay, when you're doing this, be careful to not hurt yourself. I just like to do like 3 on each side. It does spray a little bit too. And then on there. Now, back in the day, I probably would have coated these in oil and salt and all sorts of stuff, but the Forks Over Knives cooking method falls in line with the way we like to do things. That's why we thought, neat idea. By the way, you probably should have your oven preheated to 350 at this point. You're gonna put those in there for 60 to 75 minutes until soft. And what they mean by soft is when you can, like, you know, squeeze it a little bit.
They give just a little, yeah.
While the potatoes are potatoing, what do we have to do next?
You need to dice. Well, the full recipe is 1 medium yellow onion.
Yeah, we're doing half.
So you're going to dice that, and you're going to dice, in this instance, half of a red bell pepper.
Yeah, see, she was right. We tried to figure this out, and I was like, I'm not doing the third thing. We'll just go with half. It's all good. The exception is the jalapeno. I'm thinking I'm going to use a whole jalapeno. We like it spicy. And
we do.
Yeah, it's all good. So, see, here's the thing about recipes. They're a guideline. It's kind of like the Pirate's Code, you know? They're meant to give you a rough idea of where to go. And there's a few things in here that I look at and I go, I know I would like a little bit more of that or a little bit less of that. But I'm going to try to follow it as best I can, except for the jalapeno, because what am I going to do with half a jalapeno? You know, we're just going to use the whole thing and call it a day. But anyway, let me get to dicing and chopping and stuff here. So how big should I chop this to?
They're saying small dice.
Small dice. All right, small dice it is. You don't really have to watch me do this. All right, so the heat for the pan, it says medium. Ours goes to 5, okay? As I always say, if you're doing this at home, I really suggest doing it on a regular stovetop because these things, they take longer. Look at how cumbersome it is. It's weird, it's high, it's just never a good idea. Plus you only have 1 pan, right? Anyway, so I put ours to 2.75 out of 3 because I figured that's medium. And now I have my onion and red bell pepper. Why are we using red bell pepper?
Well, the reason why we're using a red bell pepper is because they happen to be the most nutritious of the bell pepper family because they're a fully ripe bell pepper. You do know that, right? That the green, the yellow, the orange, and the red, they're all the same thing.
Yep.
It's just varying levels of ripeness.
Gotta get them all in there. No, there is no oil in this pan. The instructions even say it starts to stick, add some water. So I have a small container of water at the ready. But I'm gonna stir these around in the pan a little bit. They're not sticking. If your pan is hot enough, it'll actually create a little bit of steam as it enters and they won't stick at all.
Both the onions and the bell pepper have a good amount of moisture inside them, and that hot pan is going to force them to release that moisture, therefore creating their own little barrier of non-stickage.
Plus, my constant need to move stuff around in the pan helps a lot in this case, because it keeps things from sticking.
So we want to saute these for 7 to 8 minutes.
And then I have the jalapeno and garlic going in?
Yep.
All right, so I'm going to chop up the garlic.
The garlic, they said peeled and minced. I peeled it. You're going to mince it.
The mincing, I will go. Sounded better in my head.
And then the jalapeno, they want seeded and minced as well.
Of course they want it seeded. There's a kind of a misconception that all the heat is actually in the seeds. It's really not in the seeds. It's actually in the ribs, the white, pithy ribs that are next to the seeds. That's really where the heat is. I'm sure there's some capsaicin in the seeds. I mean, I haven't actually tested that theory, but these are just things that, you know, you pick up as you're on the internet looking around at stuff. I know, people are always going to make the jokes. Oh, you're handling hot peppers. Be careful using the bathroom afterwards. Yeah, I know.
I'm going to turn the heat down just a skosh.
I can turn the heat down a skosh. When you say a skosh, do you want like a quarter or like down to 2? I'm doing it down to 2. So we went from 275 to 2. And all I'm going to do is take the rib and seed right out of this just by peeling nice and close to it. Just like that.
You probably see me making really odd expressions, and that's because my eyes are incredibly sensitive to, what is the gas that onions release?
Sulfur?
Yeah.
It's a sulfur compound.
Yeah. So they're all irritated and watery.
Yeah, it actually creates sulfuric acid once it touches your tear ducts. And
a new addition to the director of weirdness is once those jalapenos get in this pan, I'm probably going to have to leave the room because I'm going to go into an immensely erratic coughing fit.
Yep. Something about the hot peppers with her lately. I don't know. It's just started too, like maybe 6-8 months ago.
Yeah. Like, here's something new. Thanks.
Yeah, I think you need a touch of water. I just have a little bit of water here. Stir that around real good. What the water does is 2 things. It adds lubrication, but it also cools the pan down ever so slightly, because I was noticing there's a little bit more color on those onions than we probably want yet. So, you know, cool it down a little bit, slow the cooking process. I'm going to go wash my hand. I'll be right back. Okay, we're going to put more water in here, too. I think this is still too hot. I needed a little bit of a sauna anyway. Here, let me take over.
All right.
So yeah, use common sense when you're cooking. You know, if you start seeing things turning too dark, too fast, well, you know what? Add some water. Turn the temperature down. That's why it's a guideline.
So I think that those are good.
Yeah, these are good to go.
So now we're going to add the jalapeno, the garlic, and then we have to measure out the cumin and the chili powder.
You say it cumin, I say it cumin. You can say it however you like. It's just saying how I do it. I've seen it both ways, and I never know what's the correct way. Does anybody know what's actually correct? I think both are correct. It's one of those weird words. I think both are actually correct. Okay, so what's this? Cumin? How much?
Yeah. So they have a special recipe where they toast and grind their own cumin seeds. We're just going to use...
We got ground cumin. That's what we're going to use.
So the full recipe is 1 tablespoon. So we're going to half that.
Okay, so if we're doing half, then that would be 1.5 teaspoons. I'm eyeballing the half teaspoon. I'd usually eyeball the whole thing, so. There was something else too, wasn't it?
Yeah, the chili powder. So this is the Ancho Chili Powder, which we happen to have. We grind our own.
We actually buy, and actually we've done it from our fresh ones too.
Yeah.
It's a poblano chili that's been dried and smoked. So what we do is we bought, well, how much do I need?
You need 2 teaspoons for the whole recipe, so just 1 teaspoon.
1 teaspoon? Really?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I went along with the 1 clove of garlic.
We got a full jalapeno in here, babe. So.
I know, but 1 clove of garlic?
I got you an extra big clove of garlic, though.
Anyway, what we do is we take the dried chilies. Water. Oh, you need water?
In here.
We take the dried chilies and put them in the blender. Blend them up, chop them up, and make chili powder. It's way better than any chili powder you could buy.
And so they're only suggesting that you saute this mixture in for just another minute.
Okay. It's been a minute.
Okay. And now we're going to add the corn.
Corn.
So it's 1 cup of corn. They
it's a little bit less than a cup, but we're doing it.
They did it the fancy way where you actually use fresh corn on the cob and you
And we did it the realistic way. We used
just
frozen corn.
Black beans.
Okay, how much black beans do I need?
Sorry.
I think I actually have it measured out.
1 cup.
1 cup cooked black beans.
So these Brian cooked in our Instant Pot, and we love cooking dried beans in our Instant Pot because it's really economical and it's really easy. And we can cook a little bit or a whole bunch and just have it for throughout the week.
And I actually made a video on how to do it while I was doing it because I thought, hey, you know what? We talk about that enough. Let's actually show it. So that video is coming out in a couple days.
All right, so they call for a little bit of salt. We aren't going to be using any salt.
How much salt do they actually call for?
1 teaspoon for the whole batch. So it would be half of that.
Yeah. It's not a lot between 2 people, but even still, that little amount, would you even notice if it was there? Probably not. So why bother?
All right, and then cilantro. They're calling for half a cup chopped cilantro for the whole batch. So, a fourth of a cup.
I got that much cilantro chopped up.
Now, if you're one of the people who don't like cilantro because it tastes like soap to you, you are not to blame. This is actually part of your chemistry makeup. Yeah. So you could use fresh oregano or fresh parsley instead.
Parsley is probably the closest thing. Oregano is a nice flavor.
Yeah. And then there's an optional ingredient that for us is hardly ever optional, and that's nutritional yeast. I
can't believe they actually call that optional.
We really like adding nutritional yeast to our cooking because it gives like a umami flavor to things, and we really appreciate it. And we never used it before.
Nope.
And now it's like a staple of our
I put it in almost
pantry.
everything.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get all of the cilantro here.
I appreciate your effort. I like cilantro.
Cilantro is the other thing. I would have put in more, but you know, that's just me. I'm turning the heat down. I think medium is too much. I think you want to be on like low medium, like low to medium heat, because that's just way too much.
We're also using cast iron, and cast iron does a really good job of retaining heat. So the pan itself might still be on Ryan's original number.
True. By the way, in a previous video, I said, I'm not sure if you can use cast iron to do the non-oil cooking. Well, guess what? You can. I started doing it like that day and haven't looked back. I like it way better than using the stainless steel, obviously. Although I still do it in stainless steel, but I like it a lot better than the non-stick cookware. Much, much better.
So now would be the time to add the nutritional yeast. Our full recipe is a 1/4 cup, so we're doing half that. Again. So you could just eyeball it if you want. I can
eyeball it?
You can eyeball it.
So a 1/4 cup is 4 tablespoons. So that means we need like 2 tablespoons. And here's how I do that. I don't really, but that's 1 tablespoon. 2 tablespoons. See, when you're cooking, it's kind of an art form because you can be a little bit over, a little bit under. It's not going to drastically change the dish in most cases. Like we used 3 times as much jalapeno as you're supposed to. It didn't even affect her this time.
I had a little bit of cough, but it wasn't that bad.
You got to remember, these aren't our jalapenos.
That's true.
Our jalapenos are hot. They're very spicy.
Yeah.
Store-bought jalapenos, not quite as much. All right, this is looking pretty good.
So basically, you just stir that in really well, and then you remove it from the heat.
That means I need a thing.
Trivet?
Yep. Be right back.
So our next step involves tofu.
That's right. And we have found that most recipes that call for a silken tofu are actually calling for a specific brand, because most tofu does not come in a 12-ounce package. Yet this one calls for 1 12-ounce package of tofu. And the brand is Mori New. You can find it on Amazon. We have links to this. We just recently started using it, and it's shelf stable, first off. You don't have to refrigerate it. That's what that means. It's good till, I don't know, like hell freezes over, pretty much. Here we go, February 8th, 2023. It's good for almost like 6 to 7 more months. If we don't use up 12 boxes of it in that time, then we're doing it wrong.
Now, they do say to use extra firm silken tofu.
Well,
and we don't have extra firm.
they also have you doing what with it, though? You have to puree it.
To puree it.
So if you're... It doesn't matter. This happens to be the silken soft tofu. Now, they don't make firm tofu this way. And even when she said it, the firm,
Extra
it's still
firm.
a silken tofu, which is not the same as the spongy stuff, okay? They're very, very different things. Now, something weird about the packaging of this stuff. It's literally like a carton, and you have to cut it open. But, like, there's no bag or anything inside.
Is the juices going to come out on the table?
Probably.
Do you want a bowl so you don't get juices all over the table?
I'm going to risk it.
Okay. Well, they suggest that you drain it.
There's nothing to drain with this.
Okay.
There's really no drainage. Although I did drip, and I need a spoon now. I'll be right back. Yeah, they can say drainage all they want, but there's really, like, hardly anything to drain here.
There is liquid in there, it's just very minimal.
Yeah. Now, it calls for 12 ounces is the full recipe. We need 6. So I'm just going to use half. And I'm going to eyeball it. I mean, you can weigh it if you really want to. But we have found this stuff works spectacularly to make creamy style sauces because it doesn't have, like, we tried regular silken tofu and it left us wanting, let's just say. It's got an odd flavor.
It has kind of a chemically flavor to most things, and when you want to use it as like a mayonnaise or a sour cream replacement as a base for, say, a dressing or a sauce, that chemically flavor really comes through. So this does not do that. In fact, I made a tzatziki sauce using this today.
It was incredible.
And it was the best tzatziki sauce I've ever made, so I really like this stuff.
And I'm just going to use our stick blender with the attachment thing. I love this thing. I think it works fantastically for stuff like this. Small batch things. It just works really, really well. By the way, if you're curious, yes, we do have a link to, I think we can get this one on Amazon.
I think.
If we can, we'll put a link to it.
Yeah.
And it says puree. So I'm just going to blitz this up.
Ta-da!
After like 20 seconds or so, you have what looks like mayonnaise, basically.
And what they want you to do is just to add that to this mixture and mix it in really well.
I need something to do it with. I'll be right back. All right, so I'm just going to use a little spoonula here. That's a spoonula. And get everything out. Spoonula is my favorite tool ever. Because it's a spatula, it's a spoon, it's both, you know?
It's like the spork.
Except that they're useless, pretty much.
They don't have sporks at Taco Bell anymore.
I know. What the heck is up
It
with
was
that?
really weird for me.
I went to get her, you know, she ordered the salad thing, and I went to get her a spork, and they didn't have them. I'm like, isn't that kind of a staple at Taco Bell? Didn't they, like, invent it or something? By the way, if you are plant-based fully and trying to be really good when you eat out, Taco Bell is actually a decent alternative. They're not going to be low sodium and they're not going to be low fat, okay? But they do have a lot of plant-based options. And if you go to the screen for ordering, like if yours has the screen ordering, you don't have to deal with the person behind the counter who probably has no idea what plant-based food is.
Just keep in mind that the black beans are plant-based, but the reconstituted, refried bean-like product is not.
Yeah, which, you know, right there, black beans versus reconstituted, refried bean-like product.
It doesn't say that, but that's basically what it is.
I know, but when you describe it like that, you're kind of just saying, you should eat the black beans rather than the refried beans, which is sad because I used to really like their refried beans. But yeah, they probably have lard in them, among other things. That's the timer for the potatoes.
Yay!
That was the
Now,
60-minute timer for the potatoes.
They do want you to check your tomatoes. Now, they do want you to check the potatoes to make sure that they're soft, so give them a little squeeze, but you probably don't want to use your bare hands, so make sure that your glove or whatever you're using is clean, because you don't want to contaminate your potatoes.
I'm supposed to mix this thoroughly.
I'm thinking they're using this as like a sour cream replicant.
Yeah.
It's making this mixture just look this beautiful, creamy
Let's show you what it looks like.
I'm hungry.
Non più tra I farfalloni amoroso, notte e giorno di torno girano, delle belle turbando al riposo, Narcisetto Adolcino d'amor.
I'm gonna go check the potatoes. I'll be right back. All right, I got my gloves, I'm holding the tray, and I'm giving these a little squeeze. And you know what? They still feel hard. So, another 15 minutes. So, now we just get to sit here and stare at the camera for 15 minutes while we wait for the potatoes. By the way, you saw me only use half the container of tofu. Well, don't throw the rest away, obviously. And now that it's open, I don't really trust just putting that in the fridge. So I just get a little container and just give it a little squeeze, and it comes right out. Pretty clean. There's nothing left in there. And then pop a lid on that, and if it's too big, you know, it'll compress. Soft tofu. Stick that in the fridge. Use it in the next few days. Good to go. All right, it's been another 15 minutes. Took the potatoes out. Need a glove. They're considerably softer, okay? I wouldn't call them like soft, but they are cooked. Like you can see that my finger's pushing in, and they're definitely still very, very hot. So what's next?
So the next step is to let them cool.
Yeah, who's got time for that? Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. 2 gloves. I'm just gonna move them to the cutting board.
Oh, you're gonna need a spoon, aren't you?
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna cut these guys in half.
And you want to cut them lengthways, like Brian is.
Yeah, because if you cut them the other way, then you got like cups. And these are supposed to be boats. Hey, you know, proper terminology makes all the difference sometimes.
That's right.
Okay, we have our lovely potatoes. Now what?
So now, once they've been cooled so they're safe enough to handle,
Gloves.
you're going to scoop out the flesh, leaving a 1/4-inch thick shell. And we're going to scoop out that flesh and put it in that bowl so we can use it for something else later.
Yeah, like mashed potatoes.
Mmm.
See, this is why you cook it first, because it comes out really easy. And I don't know that I could let this cool enough to be able to handle it. Because, you know, you want to kind of eat in one day, right?
Ah, potato!
That kind of show, folks. Sorry. Boats. See? Boats.
Potato boats!
What's next?
All right, so I imagine we're going to be baking these again, so you might want to get your baking tray if it's available and put your boats on said tray. Because the next step is that we're going to fill our boats with the mixture.
Oh. Okay then. Fill it with the mixture.
Yeah, so I'm gonna mush all our mixture to one side.
We have too much mixture.
We do have too much mixture.
Because we did half instead of third.
Yes. But I'm okay with that because this looks awesome. And I'm gonna divide that in half and then...
So I was just gonna fill them as much as I could.
All right.
And then move on to the next one.
Okay, you do that then.
Because you can be as scientific about it as you want to, but these aren't gonna hold all that much. So I'm gonna just pile it in there and pack it down a little bit. Now, if you notice, I have them all sitting right next to it. Here, let me get this out of the way so you can see. If you notice, I have them all sitting right next to each other so that I can like really pack this stuff in there. And that way I don't waste any. I'm getting this all in here.
I was looking forward to going in there with a spoon. I guess I'll have to wait.
You can go into this with a spoon when they're cooked.
I know.
I'm making it all work. It's going in there. I'm also starting to question the serving size on these. I mean, I'm like, you know, really? This is supposed to serve 2? This might serve me. I'm a growing boy. It's just what direction at this point.
So at this point, these are gonna go back in our oven for another 30 minutes. So while we're waiting for our potatoes to cook once again, thus the twice baked potatoes, we're gonna chop our topping, and our topping happens to be green onions. They call for a 1/2 cup chopped green onion, white and green parts, for the full 6 servings. There's only 2 of us. We only did 2 potatoes.
2 looks good. So I'm just gonna chop these up and then we'll see when the potatoes are done. 30 minutes has passed and here we go. They browned up a little bit, which I kind of thought it would, you know, tofu's gonna brown. And now we put the topping on top, right?
Yep.
Just like that. I mean, there's no neat way to do this. You know, it's gonna bounce all over the place and trying to get it all.
It's raining scallions.
So you can totally see that it browned up real nice and the potato looks nice and fluffy. And you see all the different bits in there. The baked beans and the peppers and the corn and the scallions on top. Just looks awesome. All right, it is my favorite time of the show when we get to try it. Now this is unique because we've never made this exact recipe before.
Nope.
And it's not one of our recipes, it's actually from the book. So this is a little bit different because usually, you know, like I kind of know because I've made it before. This time is different.
I expect this to be really hot. And I'm saying this not for your benefit, but for Brian's benefit.
I'm gonna do it anyway. We all know this is what I do. It did hold together nicely though.
It did.
You notice that, like
yeah.
trying to remove them from the pan, everything held together really well. That is very good. I think salsa would be a good thing to put on this. Of course, the salsa's in the fridge, which is behind the lights that are over there. So we can't actually get to the salsa, but salsa would be very nice to have on this. Hot sauce would also work. But overall, it's really good. There's a lot of flavors going on. And what I really like is the potato boat actually doesn't take away from that. I was afraid that it might. But it adds a little bit of an extra creaminess to it.
Yep.
The tofu, the pureed tofu was genius. That actually is beautiful in this. It acted as a binder too. It kept it all together.
Yeah.
It worked really, really, really well. And I need another bite. The spice level is just right. It's not overly hot from the jalapeno at all. Like, I'm not even detecting heat. I'm sure it's in there. I'll get to it. But overall, everything is great. The textures work really, really well together. You got a lot of nutrients in this too, which I really like to see. And then the crunch of the scallions on top just kind of tops it all off. This is quite nice. But you have anything you want to add?
So, if you're interested in making this recipe and the many more that are included in this book, check out Forks Over Knives, the cookbook.
Link in the description below. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching and have a great day.
Bye-bye.